Welcome back to Real Shame, a show where me and he talk about our list of movie blind spots or movies that we have not seen at some point or other, and now we're finally getting around to watching them and then discussing them amongst ourselves for you to listen in on, if you so desire.
Hopefully you do.
Hope so. My name's Andy.
And I'm Adam.
And this week, so last month, I guess, we did a bunch of Halloween stuff. So we're over Halloween. Not to say that we're not necessarily going to do some what should I call it? Witchy movies like we're doing today. But Adam's going to tell us all about the witchy movie we're going to talk about today.
That's right. Two witch sisters raised by their eccentric aunts in a small town face closed-minded prejudice and a curse which threatens to prevent them from finding everlasting love in Practical Magic.
You know the only curse in this family? She's sitting right down there at the end of the table. Your Aunt Fanny.
Oh, come on, Jetty. Even you have to admit that any man who gets involved with an Owens woman is bound to end up 6 feet under.
Spare me.
What about my poor Ethan?
It was an accident.
It was fate.
It was an accident.
No, it was fate.
Accident.
It is fate.
Mommy died of a broken heart, didn't she?
Yes, my darling girl, she did.
I don't know why I paused. Pause. Practical Magic came out in 1998. It is written by a bunch of different writers and directed by Griffin Dunne. It's written by Robin Swicord, Akiva Goldsman, and Adam Brooks. It's also based off a novel that came out in 1995 by Alice Hoffman. Swicord has written a bunch of movies. She wrote the 94 Little Women. She also wrote Memoirs of a Geisha and The Curious Case of Benjamin Button, which are some of the big ones she did. Akiva Goldsman, he did he did Batman and Robin.
Yeah.
He's actually much aligned. He's much aligned in the critic community, honestly, Akiva Goldsman, just because of he's not attached to great movies. But he did write Beautiful Mind, which I remember being pretty good, and I think got some Academy Award love.
It did
when it came out. And Cinderella Man and I, Robot. Adam Brooks, he wrote Beloved, which we did for the show.
Oh yeah, nice.
And Wimbledon and Definitely Maybe. And finally, Griffin Dunne. He's an actor turned director. He was an actor in American Werewolf in Paris, which we watched for the show, and a bunch of other things. But the stuff he's directed was Addicted to Love and Fierce People.
His sister Dominique is in the original Poltergeist as well. She was an actress.
So Practical Magic is a movie that you've never seen, I've never seen, but that's why we're doing it, because you've never seen it. I'm going to run down the cast list real quick, and then we'll figure out what you think about it. It stars, you see it right on the poster, Sandra Bullock as Sally, Nicole Kidman as Jillian. Where's the other person? Diane. There's two sisters. Yeah, I was thinking about the third movie where there's three leading ladies.
That's Wednesday.
That's Wednesday. Stockard Channing as Aunt Frances, Diane Weiss as Aunt Jet. It's got Goran Visniak as Jimmy Angelo. Aidan Quinn, who is a heartthrob back in the day. I'm not sure I necessarily see that as Gary, and then Evan Rachel Wood in one of her early film roles as Kylie.
And Camilla Bell plays the young Sandra Bullock.
All right.
Who obviously Camilla Bell grew up and is still an actress. Has some fierce eyebrows, just like what's his face from While You Were Sleeping, Gallagher, Peter Gallagher.
Yeah.
She's got some fierce eyebrows, just like him. They should do a movie together.
Well, I guess it's the baby of Sandra Bullock and Peter Gallagher from While You Were Sleeping.
There you go.
Yeah. Like I said a little bit earlier, I've never seen Practical Magic. I remember seeing the poster box art everywhere.
Yep.
I always got it confused with Hocus Pocus. Completely different movies, completely different vibes.
It's funny because I think I did too.
Yeah. And I chose this because it seemed fall-y a little bit, and trying to get into it.
Yeah,
maybe
definitely fall.
Wane a little bit off of the Halloween and kind of get ready for the fall kind of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So since it's your week, since you haven't seen Practical Magic, what did you know about Practical Magic before watching it, and what were your overall thoughts after seeing it?
Well, I, like you, remember seeing this poster all the time and the box art and everything with Nicole Kidman and Sandra Bullock both on it. I also, for some reason, got it confused with Hocus Pocus, which I've also never seen. I've not seen the original, and I know the sequel just came out and is on Disney Plus and all that stuff. So I guess I got some witch movies to catch up on. Also, The Witches with Angelica Houston. Never seen.
I've seen that.
So
we had a trivia question about that.
Yeah, Practical Magic. I didn't really know much about it other than I knew Nicole Kidman and I keep wanting to say Nicole Bullock.
You want to combine their names?
Yeah, do a mashup there. Nicole Kidman and Sandra Bullock. I knew that they were both in it thanks to the poster, but I didn't know anybody else. I didn't know that. And I know Aidan Quinn we saw in Stakeout and Benny and June, which I couldn't stand. So, do I like this movie with Aidan Quinn? No, I don't.
Yeah,
I don't like this movie. I found it to be just kind of a jumbled mess of a film. I couldn't really tell what tone they were going for or like what they really kind of wanted to stick with. It felt like, I mean, I know, this was a novel, so I think kind of, usually novels obviously explain things maybe a little bit better than movies, and it's hard to kind of fit everything into a movie, but I maybe this read better on the page, but to me, I couldn't really tell what the movie was about. I mean, obviously I know it's about these two sisters who are witches, and Sandra Bullock's like makes a wish when she's young, played by Camilla Bell, and is like, oh, he's got to have all these perfect things and whatever. So I'm like, okay, so the movie's going to be about her quest to find this magical man. But then Nicole Kidman leaves and gets hooked up with Goran Visnick, however you say his name, and then I was like, okay, so I guess it's going to turn into her story, and then
then Sandra Bullock's like married to a guy, and you're like, she found love, but is this the guy she wished for? Or then it turns out no, it wasn't, and all this kind of stuff.
It's like a music video with the song "This Kiss" playing, and I was like, oh, it's just like it's typical kind of '90s movie. I don't know.
Dude, sort of the pop music in the soundtrack, I felt it was so distracting.
Yeah, the needle drops for sure. The
needle drops were terrible.
Yeah. So she got married to the guy, and I thought, okay, so where's this going?
Yeah.
And then he dies.
Yeah, I thought she was gonna be like trying to prevent him from dying, but then he just like gets hit by a truck. It's like, okay, we're moving on.
Yeah, and he's a complete idiot, by the way, for getting hit by the truck. But it tried to be so many different things. I also think, speaking of, we were talking about Aidan Quinn, I don't think he's a bad actor, but I do find him kind of blasé. So I didn't really find the chemistry between him and Sandra Bullock that believable. But yeah, and Stockard Channing and Diane Wiest, at one point they leave.
They just leave. They're like this thing. They're like the S is hitting the fan.
Yeah,
they're like, peace out. We'll come back when it's better. They leave,
and then I thought, did they have another movie to shoot? Yeah. I don't like what happened here. And then they come back, and then it's just I was like, and then Nicole Kidman was like possessed by Goran Visnick, and I was like, I don't know what this is. But again, that's the best way for me to describe it. It's just kind of a jumbled mess. Yeah. I didn't like this movie much at all. I just didn't care for it. So I'm not sorry that I missed it back in 1998, and I would not watch it again. What about you?
Really, I wrote pretty much the same thing in my notes. I wrote that it was all over the place.
Yes.
They lay like a lot of plot and groundwork in the beginning, and I'm like, okay, I see where we're going with this. Like this could be interesting, but ultimately, I thought the movie was just kind of bland and uninteresting. And I do think like they should have figured out some like central problem to hang the movie on or something like that.
Definitely.
Because it just seems like we get these little vignettes of things that are going on, but really nothing comes of it, and they just kind of scoot past it as fast as they kind of establish everything and stuff like that.
Couldn't agree more.
So it's like, okay, like exactly like you said, it's like, okay, this is gonna be about Sandra Bullock trying to find love, and then it's like, oh no, wait, we're with Nicole Kidman. She's in this abusive relationship. It's gonna be about getting out of that. Then it's like, oh no, wait, now we're about, Sandra Bullock's husband's dying, so maybe it's gonna be about her mourning that. No. Now Aidan Quinn's in the picture, and just like, what are we? It's all like a giant jumbled mess and just kind of all over the place. And like, obviously a novel can run much longer than this movie, so maybe the novel did a better job of connecting these pieces together. But I'm with you. It's all over the place. It's just kind of, it's a mess.
Yeah.
And it feels like it's like I think I was reading the trivia and I remember this like generally I think it's like a well loved like a cult movie and I'm like what is not a cult but cult movie and I'm like where's that coming from, like where's the love in this movie?
Might be a cult movie, but as we'll see, critics weren't kind.
Yeah. So I got a couple notes on here and we can jump into that. According to Akiva Goldsman, there was a director's cut of this movie that was actually much darker, and Warner Brothers kind of came in. They're like, "Yeah, we're not going to do that." So they ended up recutting it and making it a much happier version of all that. And the movie as we saw it was scored by Silvestri. I can't think of his first name. Begins with A. Alex Silvestri.
Alan.
Alan Silvestri. Yeah, I do have written down there. Alan Silvestri. But originally it was originally scored by Michael Newman, and Michael Newman's score was very dark. I guess maybe they go with the darker movie and all that kind of stuff. But apparently the first pressing, the CD that came out had 2 pieces of his score in there. So
the old score.
Of the old score.
Yeah.
So I'll be curious to kind of look up that stuff and see what that is, because I think that'd be kind of interesting to see what could be. I mean, Alan Silvestri, great composer, but seeing what a darker score would also be pretty interesting. And I read somewhere else in the trivia that the pieces and excerpts he's kind of did for the score has appeared in other movies and other things he's put out, so it's not like it's lost.
He was able to reuse that stuff.
Yeah.
That's good.
He's able to use the
Yeah, I mean, I think you're right. It probably read better in the novel by Alice Hoffman. It's not to say the episodic movie can't work, but this one doesn't.
Yeah, I agree.
Unfortunately, it is 23% fresh on Rotten Tomatoes.
Yeah, ooh.
Not good. Yeah, I was shocked when I read. I mean, I didn't like it, but when I went to go look it up afterwards, I was like, wow, that's pretty low.
Yeah.
Like, because I thought that it was going to be high. I thought I was going to be in the minority disliking it.
I figured it would be like a 60 or 50% Rotten Tomatoes.
That sounds about right. But no, it's 23% fresh on Rotten Tomatoes. The audiences are kinder to it, not us, obviously, but 73% audience score. Gene Siskel gave it thumbs up, and Roger Ebert gave it thumbs down.
Wow.
Leonard Maltin gave it 2 stars, and it is streaming on HBO Max if you care to watch it.
Yeah.
Or revisit it, or whatever the case may be.
I know we're not over the moon with it, but maybe you'll find some aspect of it that you like. Maybe.
Yeah. A never watch again for me. For
yeah,
sure.
I agree. I will mark it off my list. It's barred.
Done.
All right. Well, that was Practical Magic. On these Monday episodes, we always like to talk about what we've been watching. So I'm going to toss it over to Andy. Andy, we spent a whole month talking about movies without talking about what we've been watching.
That's right.
So why don't you let the audience in on what you've been seeing lately? Anything good, anything bad, anything horrible?
Let's see. Everything I'm going to talk about today is not good, I don't think. So obviously we did a bunch of Halloween movies for the show, but that's not just, that doesn't mean that I didn't watch any other horror movies. I watched plenty of other horror. I'm actually still watching horror movies because we're actually filming this in late October.
We are.
But we did Carrie, the remake.
Yep.
And so I decided to watch Carrie 2, or it's called The Rage, Carrie 2.
Okay.
Came out in 99, I think. And I remember when it came out, I had already seen, so I'd never seen it before. I remember, though, when it came out in 99, I had seen Brian De Palma's Carrie at that point, which was the only Carrie at that point. The Angela Bettis one and the Chloe Grace Moretz one did not yet exist. But I remember when Carrie 2 came out, I thought, what's the point? And Carrie dies at the beginning, or at the end of the original film. Sorry if you didn't know that. But so I was like, how are they going to do this? Well, it's not Carrie in the second film. It's just called Carrie 2, just because it's a sequel. And actually, what I read was it started off not even being a Carrie movie. It just was a movie. It was kind of loosely based on like a true story about these high school kind of jock guys that were having sex with these underage girls and bragging about it and all this stuff, and how they ended up getting arrested. And so it was a movie kind of about that story. And then they eventually were like, let's turn it into a Carrie sequel. And so they made kind of the main girl suddenly have, telekinetic powers and stuff like Carrie. Yeah, it's an interesting choice. I'm not sure how they came to that decision.
Did John Peters also produce that movie?
Yeah, right. He came in. He's like, I need aliens in this thing. I need a giant spider.
Giant spider. Polar bears.
I need polar bears in this thing. Yeah, I'm surprised he didn't. But I actually thought that it started off pretty good. Yeah. And if they actually would have just stuck with a movie that had nothing to do with Carrie, it probably would have been a good movie overall. Yeah. But unfortunately, it goes downhill as the movie goes along, and by the time it got to the climax ending, because just like the original Carrie, I mean, I don't consider this a spoiler. She's going to unleash her powers, and she does in Carrie 2, and it is hilarious. Like, I was dying laughing, and I don't think that's the intended effect, or maybe it was. I don't know, but I was dying laughing at some of the deaths that happened. So as a comedy, it works really well, especially at the end. But overall, it's not a very good movie. One thing that I really did like about it, though, was they brought back Amy Irving, who's the survivor in the original film. Mm-hmm. She's the one that has the dream at the end. They brought her back, and now she's like a counselor, and she's playing the same character because it's a sequel. So I thought that was really cool because she starts to see the same things happening with this girl that happened to Carrie, and she tries to help her.
Gotcha.
So I thought that was awesome, but unfortunately, what happens to her character, I couldn't stand in this movie. I was so pissed off whenever what happens. I'm not going to say, but I was like not really happy. So it was a miss for me. The Carrie 2. I also watched the original Firestarter and Firestarter 2 and the remake of Firestarter. All three. So we didn't touch Firestarter when we were doing movies in October, but I decided to watch
Firestarter.
I did. It's on Prime Video, so I thought, I'll watch the original film, and then I watched the second one, which I didn't even know existed until you told me about it. And that was like a sci-fi miniseries, and it's really long because it was like 2 parts. So the original Firestarter with Drew Barrymore, I don't think is very good. I read the book Firestarter back in the day, and I don't even remember the book being all that good. So, I mean, it's
lesser Stephen King work.
Lesser Stephen King to me. I don't think the original Firestarter is all that good, but I love the end where once again all hell breaks loose and she unleashes her powers, because they used entirely practical effects for all the fire stuff, and that stuff also pretty hilarious, but it looks cool. So I appreciate that part of the movie, but the movie on the whole is not very good. Firestarter 2 is just boring, because it's a sci-fi miniseries. I don't think they had a very big budget, so it's just weak. And then the remake of Firestarter with Zac Efron is to me even worse than the original film.
Oh wow!
I mean, obviously they have like CGI and stuff now. Some of the effects look kind of cool, but the movie just feels like half finished. The plot is slightly different than the original film. I mean, it's basically the same, but there are some differences, and because I watched them so close together, I could tell what the differences were. The ending I thought was really bizarre for it, and I feel like they were going almost for like a Brightburn tone at the end. Remember Brightburn?
Yeah.
I feel like they were kind of going for that.
Like setting up the Firestarter universe kind of thing.
Yeah, basically. But based on this movie, I don't want them to continue with this universe because I thought it was crappy.
It's the Dark Universe. Stephen King, the Dark Tower universe. It
was lame. And then the final movie that I'll talk about, once again, it's not a movie that we reviewed in October, but we did it, I think, last October 2021, The Omen. Yes. I watched the remake of The Omen because I had not seen that.
Okay.
I last year, I think after we watched The Omen, I watched the sequels, but for some reason I didn't watch the remake.
You did, because I remember you talking about it took dude from Jurassic Park was like the
Sam Neill, right. So this remake came out in 2006. It's got Liev Schreiber, is that how you say his name? Liev, and Julia Stiles, and when we reviewed the original Omen on the show, I wasn't super keen on it. I don't remember either one of us being super keen on it, but I really liked the part where he teams up with David Warner and they're kind of investigating things. That was, once again, my favorite part of the remake. Other than that, I thought the remake was just boring as all get out. I think Liev Schreiber is about as interesting as watching paint dry. I'm sorry, but I mean, he's just so bland in this movie.
Okay,
kind of overall. I mean, I don't know. No movie that he's in really stands out to me that much.
Yeah.
I know. I mean, again, I don't think he's like Aiden Quinn. I don't think he's a terrible actor. He's just not that interesting to me.
Yeah.
But he's super boring in this movie. The best thing about the Omen remake, other than when he teams up, it's David Thewlis that fills in David Warner's shoes in this movie. The best thing about the Omen remake is that they got Mia Farrow to play the nanny of Damien, which is cool because Mia Farrow had a demonic baby in Rosemary's Baby.
Yep.
So it's neat to kind of see that casting. I thought that was great casting, but the movie just sucks and is boring overall.
All right.
So I didn't like any of those movies that I watched. What have you been watching?
So I finally marked one off my list that I've been meaning to watch, which was Edgar Wright's movie Last Night in Soho.
Mm-hmm.
I know originally you weren't the biggest fan of that movie.
I am not.
And what do you remember? What your chief complaints are on it? Or
I didn't really like the story that much, and I thought what's her name, Thomasin McKenzie's performance is just hysterical most of the time and annoying, honestly. The thing that I liked about it, I mean, I do like the visuals, like the colors and the swinging 60s nightlife, and what's her face, the old lady, forget her name, Emma Peel on the Avengers, Diana Rigg.
Yeah.
She's great.
Like great Diana Rigg.
But other than that, it was not for me.
So I remembered you not being a fan of it, and I watched it. Kirby didn't like it that much. I kind of enjoyed it. It's like as the kids say these days, it's a vibe, and I kind of got behind it. And usually, for me, if a movie doesn't have a great story, I kind of don't like it. But for this one, it just didn't really matter that much to me. I just had so much fun with the visuals and all that kind of stuff, and just being in the milieu and all that kind of stuff. So
yeah,
I liked it. I can see all your points, and I think all your points are fair. And the story's kind of okay. It's not super surprising. Like Kirby called it super early.
Mm-hmm.
What ended up being like the twist in it and stuff like that. But it's fairly straightforward.
Yeah.
But I liked the filmmaking of it. I liked the visual style of it and all that kind of stuff. And for me, that kind of carried the movie a whole lot. And I really kind of enjoyed that aspect of it. And he did some really smart filmmaking. And it's just like, man, Edgar Wright's such a great filmmaker. Like I want him to do more and more stuff, and even stuff that he's not generating himself. I think would be great for him to lend his style to, because like this is not as like, I feel like Scott Pilgrim and like all this like is Cornetto trilogy and all that kind of stuff is like one side of like a frantic kind of like, even Baby Driver is like really like frantic and kind of in your face and stuff like this. But like this movie is just a little bit more subtle and a little bit more stylish, and I'd like to see more of like that kind of subtle filmmaking coming from and stuff like that, versus like the in your face kind of like you're in the middle of an arcade, you're like on the in the arcade room and everything's like blinking and stuff like that of his normal filmmaking and stuff like that. So I really like that look, that style of his filmmaking in this.
I think Edgar Wright is clearly a guy who loves film.
Yeah.
Because I feel like I'll be reading about some classic film and there'll be some quote from Edgar Wright about it. Some he's very knowledgeable about older films and is very appreciative and in love with older films. And I can totally get behind that. That's 100%. I love that.
Well, every year he publishes a list of everything he's like kind of watched and read and all that kind of stuff. And he goes back, like he's not just keeping up with new modern things. Like he's going back rewatching like older films and stuff like that. And even with Last Night in Soho, he listed like a bunch of like giallo movies that were kind of the influence of it, and some like British movies and stuff like that. So I mean, he definitely is like well educated and like pays attention to that stuff.
And he also said "Don't Look Now" is the best edited film of all time. So,
and you're like, I agree.
Yeah. I love you, Edgar.
There you go. Match made in heaven. So I watched that. I really enjoyed that. The other thing I'll call out is, and I mentioned this like a while back, is that I was like, I'm going to go back because I just finished watching, I think it was Better Call Saul. And I'm like, I need another TV show to watch. So I went back and I watched all 3 seasons of Barry on HBO. I thought they were finished after 3 seasons. But apparently there's at least one more coming. Yeah. So So I was hoping I could just mark it off my list, but I guess whenever the 4th season kind of drops, I'll watch that. And it's an interesting show. I'm not as over the moon with it this time around. I think I finished the 1st season on my initial watch, and then I kind of fell off. So this one I rewatched the 1st season and watched all the way through season 3. I think it's good and interesting, but I'm not as like over the moon with it like I feel a lot of the other kind of critics and people in the space who talk about it are. But I think it's, definitely worth the time, and it's interesting seeing like Bill Hader not do like a comedic role and all that kind of stuff. I do think like I feel like he had like I feel like, and I don't know this is true or not, but I feel like he's like I gotta have this physical mannerism to get into this character and stuff like that. And for him, it's like this furrowed eyebrow thing, and I just cannot not see him doing that the whole time. Like he always has like this weird like furrowed brow kind of thing whenever he's like Barry. And it's just like it's distracting to me. I don't know why, but I feel like it was a choice he made, and I just see it all the time whenever I'm watching a show. It was just something that I brought, but it was very distracting to me. But that's what I've been watching, and I like Barry. I'm gonna finish it whenever the next season comes out. But yeah, that's what I've been watching. Last Night in Soho and Barry.
Alrighty.
All right. So should we talk about?
Oh yes,
yes. Wednesday.
It's been a while. I feel
Yeah,
like,
no worries.
Yes. So today we did a movie all about a coven, I guess, of witches. I don't know. So what did you decide to pair with today's movie?
So when I saw this on your list, I was initially thinking about doing Simply Irresistible, which is a Sarah Michelle Gellar movie where she does witchy things, witchcraft.
Yes, witchy woman.
And I like that movie a lot, but I didn't know if you've seen it. And then I was looking around trying to see other kind of witch type movies, and I saw there's another movie called Witches of Eastwick that seemed to get paired with Practical Magic a lot. In fact, don't you have like the DVD that's
There's
both
a Blu-ray that has
double
double feature of Practical Magic?
And I was like, hey, the gods have spoken.
Yeah.
Like someone's already paired these two movies together. So,
and I'm sure people are like, why does Andy have a Blu-ray of it if he doesn't even like Practical Magic? It was like in the bargain bin. Yeah. It's like $5 for 2 movies. So it's like, all right, whatever.
Yeah. So
okay, sure.
Well, you knew this was going to happen. You were like Nostradamus.
I did. I'm a witch myself, or a warlock, I guess. Yeah. I'm a warlock.
Well, we're going to find out more about that and Witches of Eastwick. So yeah, I just decided to pair it with that. Another movie that I haven't seen, and I thought it'd be an interesting pairing. So that's what I decided to pair with this, and we're going to check it out on Wednesday, which is Witches of Eastwick.
Witches of Eastwick. All right.
All right. Well, that was everything we've been watching and more. It's been a while since we've done this. Please like, subscribe, share, do all that social media stuff. It really just helps, and really, really do appreciate it. Shoot us fears, questions to us, realshame@gmail.com. And stay tuned Wednesday when we dig into and figure out who actually are the Witches of Eastwick. I don't know. We're going to find out. And we'll see you soon, guys. Have a good one. Bye. Thank you.